3DO.
Seven weeks have passed since we set sail from Enroth. Slaves freed from our skirmishes with Regnan fleets talk of the turmoil in Arathia. I suspect their stories are true, but I must see the evidence with my own eyes. The ocean tides were kind enough to bury the fallen on its shores. However, the smoking ruins of Cloudfire greeted us with nothing but destruction and the stench of death. With no survivors, only the battlefield could tell me what happened here. Despite the breath of devastation, the presence of Minotaurs suggests a raiding party. However, the ranks were too well organized. This is the work of the dungeon overlords. Evidently, the wizards were prepared, but overrun nevertheless. These atrocities rend my heart and fuel my anger. Arathia's banner must be respected, never disgraced. I think of my beloved Roland and my son Nikolai, and how much further this war will carry me from them. But my duty is clear. My father's kingdom must survive. Arathia must not fall to its enemies.
Hello everybody and welcome! You can read, so I won't have to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Heroes of Might and Magic. A series that is near and dear to my heart from New World Computing. Frankly, the best of the series stopped at 3. 4 was okay. Afterwards, after Ubisoft took over, I don't know what happened. It was okay. I played 5. I'll tolerate 5. 6. I bought 6. I played it a bit. I don't know what happened on my GameStop app. It kind of fucked it over, and I don't know where it is now, which really makes me mad, actually. But I didn't like the way they were handling everything. But anyway, this series, Heroes of Might and Magic, came out when I was a wee lad. I was about 10 or 11 when the first one came out. Not the first period, but the first Heroes of Might and Magic came to the Windows 95 computer system. And it was something that me and my family played almost every week. It was our weekend thing. I'm only gonna go to easy because I'm trying to set a few things up here right now. I'm setting myself up to do some talking because I'm about to geek out. Anyway, in the first Heroes of Might and Magic, I'm going to have to go into a bunch of history just to tell you about how all this stuff was awesome. I love storyline. the Heroes of Might and Magic series coincided with all of the Might and Magic games that were on at the time, and that started going on at the same time. Enroth was real. Most of the kings were named the same. Most of the places, the towns, all of that. So, first I'm going to get into a game here. We're going to beat Alamar, one of the dungeon overlords that she was so talking about. You can read that, but really I'm not going to be playing this to actually win it. On the contrary, I'm playing it to talk about it. Now, in Heroes of Might and Magic 1, there was one thing that you almost, like, just starting out, you already knew one thing. Can I play the Warlock? There were only 4 classes: Warlocks, Sorceresses, Knights, and Barbarians. And if you were the Warlock, you already had a distinct advantage over everyone else. Luckily, it was a crapshoot, or unluckily, if you want to put it that way, on who you were going to get. This was because in Heroes of Might and Magic 1, you weren't allowed to pick who you were going to use. Now, because of that, starting a new game, sometimes if you start a single-player campaign, you might maybe restart the game over and over again until you finally got the Warlock. Because he was just that good. They started with some of the strongest creatures, and they had some of the strongest ones that they could get early on. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the game because I would rather show you the game if I could get it to work and if I had a copy that could work with a Windows 8 computer. Sadly, this is something that's not available. So, I'm going to talk about Warlocks right now. That's what this episode's going to be. This is going to be me geeking out about the Warlock faction. Now, there were 4 kings in the original Might and Magic. Well, kings is a term that I use loosely. 4 rulers, I'll say. There was Lord Iron Fist, who was the ruler of the Knights. He wasn't the worst, but Lord Iron Fist was probably the underdog. Alright? Wikipedia and some other sites excuse me, inform us that his name was Mulgren. Mulgren was a knight who had fled through one of the many portals that Might and Magic is known for. And in fleeing through this portal, he ended up in Enroth. He led his knights in Might and Magic 1 to win. He conquered everyone else. This is... well, you know, depending on how you play, this is false. But this is the accepted lore. The lore is that Iron Fist won. He defeated the Warlocks, the Sorceress, and the Barbarian tribes on Enroth. And brought basically the first round of peace to the continent. Alright, next part. We're going to talk about the other lords, because I'm not going to talk about Iron Fist right now. We'll talk about him when we get to the Knights. And trust me, Iron Fist has one of the most convoluted lore dumps I'm going to give you. By convoluted, I mean biggest. Now, the ruler of the Warlocks was Lord Alamar. Hey, you might notice something about that name. It's the guy who I'm playing right now. That's right. Lord Alamar was the leader of the Warlocks. He was basically the most powerful of them all. Back in Heroes Might and Magic 1, Warlocks were known for one thing. They blow shit up good. They couldn't do it very often because of the way spells worked back then, because they only would have the ability to cast maybe 1 or 2 at their first level. But after that, it was just a matter of time before everything died. The Warlock was also helped out by its super units, the Hydra and the Dragon. Dragons in Heroes of Might and Magic 1 were the end-all and be-all of something that you had to fight, which made it even worse if you were on Alamar's bad side during the campaign, because then you'd have to deal with them. Dragons were immune to all forms of magic. You couldn't hit them with anything. True, this means they couldn't be buffed with anything, but you don't need a buff for a dragon. It's a damned dragon. They're immune to every single form of magic. Every single form of mystical attack does almost no damage to them. They deal the highest damage possible in the game with the damage range. Let's just say that and their combined total of 200 hit points per unit made them the most powerful thing you could see on the map. Now, you're saying, one thought might be, well, you gotta take the Warlock out fast. I applaud you because this is really the best way to do it. The best thing to do about the Warlocks back in Old Heroes was get rid of them. You just didn't want to deal with the Warlock. If he got snowballing, you were done. And I might have just run into a bad fight, but I'm gonna bite the bullet on it. The music told me that my choice of fight was poor. I kind of agree with it, having no attack and defense bonuses since I'm a mage. And dealing with golems who are resoundingly immune to magic attacks. Anyway, back to what I was saying about Warlocks. Now, you might say to yourself, well, let's just kill the Warlock quick. You know, everybody gangs on the Warlock. This is true, everybody does. But there's no way you can gang on him quick enough. Because he has Hydras. Now, Heroes 1's battles played out mostly the same as this one's does. You had a large group on one side, a group on the other side, and they had to walk to each other. It was a much smaller screen. I'd say where this has, we'll count in a second the amount of hexes that this has. Show it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to 17 hexes, because I kind of messed myself up. Anyway. The original Heroes game probably has 6. Like, really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes in between the groups. So, I guess if it's in between the groups, maybe 8. 8 hexes from side to side. Hydras had a movement rate that they could move 1 hex. That was it. They couldn't move any further, they couldn't move any more than 1. But they didn't need to. They were a base unit that you could buy that had 75 hit points at average on normal. They were too powerful. And they could hit everyone that was around them, as Hydras do. Having 8 heads helps out quite a bit. Now, with all this firepower behind them, you kind of would wonder how the Warlocks lose, or would lose. How would you beat them? The easiest way is numbers. Along with having the strongest units in the game, the Warlock unfortunately also has the most costly units in the game. Hydras cost about 750 gold, I believe. Somewhere around that for just one. And back in that day where you couldn't buy a city hall or a capital to increase your gold production to the thousands, that was quite a bit. You only got 1,000 a day, and that was a Hydra a day, and then you couldn't get it with what else. A well is your only means of producing more, which means that you get 4 Hydras a week. So you had to rely on the fact that the other people just weren't going to get to you soon enough. A Dragon's Tower, which I think they called it a Black Tower back then, took I'd like to say, a copious amount of resources. And because of those resources, you usually put yourself behind an 8-ball trying to get them all. Oh, there is another dungeon. I thought I saw one. Now, it would seem that what happened is after Alamar lost the war, it looks like he moved north, or not north, south, and joined up with the Kriegans, the Dungeon Overlords. However, this isn't the first. This is not the first thing he did. You see, when Iron Fist defeated all of the... when Iron Fist defeated everybody, he basically just kind of kept everyone together and lorded over everyone. They made a sort of a council of elders, you know? And that's what brought us to the second game. In the second game, you play as Iron Fist's sons, Roland and Archibald. If you were listening to the opening, you know Roland. You heard his name said. Roland and Archibald Iron Fist fought for control of who was going to be the next one on the throne after their father died. I'm not sure if I'm remembering it correctly, but I'm pretty sure that Archibald actually killed Lord Iron Fist. He had him poisoned, because Archibald's a dick. But that's why we love him, because he's such a dick. Anyway, you can probably guess already that he didn't win the War of Succession. No, that went to Roland. Roland defeated Archibald, or you defeated Roland, depending on how you played the campaign. But I find it very interesting on what happened afterwards. You see, throughout the campaign, you're given a bunch of different choices on whether to help out Archibald still, or join up with Roland, or maybe even, you know, set out on different quests to help maybe disemancipate a group of people, or subjugate this person A and person B. The endings are what get me, mostly. In Roland's ending, he does not kill Archibald, which is not something that's too astounding because you don't see many good guys kill bad guys. Maybe we should see it more, but you don't. And Instead, he has Archibald turned to stone and set up in the castle as a statue in the courtyard. I don't know if that's insulting. Don't think that Roland intended it to be because of what you learn about him and everything. He probably never intended it to be insulting. It just sounds it. Archibald, on the other hand, decides not to kill his brother, which this even throws you for a bigger loop because Archibald's been wanting to kill Roland for being such a goody two-shoes, as he puts it, throughout the entire thing. But he just imprisons him forever. Maybe that's worse. I'm not sure. My take on life imprisonment being worse than death. I kind of find death worse. At least with life imprisonment, you get to do something. You know? Although I suppose you wouldn't get to do whatever you want. See, I have a very weird view on it. Now, one of the things with Archibald is the factions that join him. In Heroes of Might and Magic 2, there are 6 choosable factions. The Barbarians, the Knights, the Wizards, the Necromancers, the Warlocks, and the Sorcerers. I'll get to them all in turn, but the Warlocks joined up with Archibald. I don't know why. I'm guessing that he promised Alamar to, like, give them their land back or something like that, you know? Or, you know, this is a way to get back at Lord Iron Fist who stole your land in the first place or whatever. It was around this time, though, that the Warlocks started to become a little more, well, they became less of a threat. Apparently after the war, they lost a couple of their men. They either changed sides, depending on which way you go. They were either Warlocks that became Wizards working for Iron Fist, or Warlocks that decided to leave and become Necromancers. One of these is a very famous Warlock, Sandro. Sandro is incredibly famous in Heroes of Might and Magic, and I'll get to him one day. If I keep doing this, which I'm probably going to, because I love talking about this thing. If you can't tell. Some of you may be wondering how I'm playing, because sometimes I know there are people out there that'll be like, oh, you should do this, because, like, why don't I even have 2 people? At least until now I didn't. It's true. I don't know. Whenever I played Heroes, I never had 2 heroes. I know that's a bad thing. You should always have at least 2 people, one guy gathering resources and one guy doing other things. You should level them accordingly. I turn that off. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. They fought me because they know I can't cast spells on them. After the War of Succession between Roland and Archibald, the Warlocks completely split. Alamar's kingdom fell. And that's why I believe he's with the Kriegans now. Or not Kriegans, the Kriegans are the Inferno. I forgot what we call the Dungeon Overlords. They're like the It starts with an N. We'll learn about it in campaign mode when I get to it. But, I forgot what they're called. I really do. And I hate myself for it right now. I'm gonna remember it once I stop recording. But right now I'm drawing a blank. I know it starts with an N, though. Anyway, so he apparently has joined up with them. I don't know if he... I'm pretty sure he doesn't need them. The Dungeon Overlords have a different set of rules than the Warlocks did. Anyway, so there's that. I've almost talked myself out of all the Warlock stuff. But I've still got a bit more I can go on. As you may have guessed, the most powerful thing that a Warlock can do is magic. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? You also notice that I'm doing the opposite of what someone else might do, which is go for the dragons. I haven't even touched them. I don't really feel the need to go and get myself dragons. I sometimes find that a large group of small minions takes on a big minion very easily. Especially when you reach into the hundreds. Anyway, let's talk about the Warlock now. The Warlock now as a Dungeon Overlord. Well, he brings his usual set of tricks of expertly magicking everyone, destroying almost anyone with a spell. A mere gesture. 200 points of damage. And because of that, he still maintains his top tier abilities. Let's talk about what he lacks. A Warlock, now with the Dungeon Overlords, lacks some of his old power. What I mean by this is he lacks his old ability to just stomp holes in people. The dungeon's units grant him a lot of mobility that he didn't have. But that's about it. Not that much power. In my eyes, he had more power back with his old units. The gargoyles, the Hydra. The Hydra especially. The Minotaurs he followed the Minotaurs though. That's good. I always did like the Minotaurs. If anything, just for the fact that, oh, it's a Minotaur. Apparently they're loading me up since I beat those guys. I'll leave those zealots alone for now. I love the fact though that they brought that the Minotaurs still sided with them though. Because I like Minotaurs. They're one of my favorite races. I can't really say why, because I've never thought about it too much. They just are. With that said, we're going to start building our way up towards bigger units. The manticores and the minotaurs. Air magic, please. Upgrading stuff doesn't really matter to me. Could upgrade a Minotaur thing or Manticore thing, but we're here for Minotaurs. There. Alright. There isn't just a buy all and like there is in 5. I guess that's kind of something I miss from 5. Oh, really? Are they normal harpies? Yep. However, there will be this juicy army coming over. It's wonderful seeing all this come together. Again, right after I get enough units, we'll really see how it shines. Oh, out of money. Go get more money for me. That's probably the one thing that happens a lot to Warlocks still. You run out of cash. Not as often anymore, but you still run out of cash. Let's see. This looks painful. This is actually a fight that, when I look over at it, it worries me. Which that shouldn't happen very often. Not with what I'm toting. There we go. Boy from my father. That's what harpies are. Don't get me wrong, I love the harpies, but the most useful they are is in defending a castle. Out on the battlefield, they're kind of there to draw fire. Show you a siege, and then we'll get this over with. Welcome to sieging the castle. It's changed a lot over the years. We used to have one arrow turret at the top, which still did way more damage than it needed to, but not as much as those three combined do. Also, it used to be a lot easier to aim the catapulters. The gargoyles maintain their scratching ability. I do miss the gargoyles from the first one who had laser beams in their eyes. They were such a low-level creature, but for some reason, just laser eyes because. The Gremlins, they're a new creature in 3. They were never here in 2. In 2, the wizards, slingers, as they were hobbits. It made sense. I'm actually kind of disappointed that they got rid of them in place of the Gremlins. I like hobbits. In fact, there was a map that was totally made to basically be Lord of the Rings back in Heroes of Might and Magic 2. Let's see. It looks like they're coming back because they saw me being a douche. They're kind of too late, though. Let's see. Now, the best they can do is they can run up, try to take the castle back, which isn't going to happen. Or, and this is the much bigger and more likely scenario that they're going for, they're going to sneak around me. And in doing so, try to take over my castle on the surface. Which is kind of a dick move. I mean, all I did was, take away their livelihood. No reason for them to be such douches and take away mine. As you can see, artifact merchants are really cheap. Let's take them on. I'm not even worried. They've spent 40 of their magic points already, which means that they've gotten in a bunch of fights that they already couldn't afford, and now they're after me, who's powered up to the teeth in a fight that they can't afford to lose. This is why I usually play with one hero. I just find it easier to manage a giant army than 10 little ones. It might not be the right way to play, and it's especially not the right way to play on a higher difficulty. You already know this is not easy. You won't make enough bacon, but it'll be good. Does that for that hero. They gave me a lot of good things. Things they probably shouldn't give me. I had the Spirit of Oppression and the Hourglass of Evil Hour. That must have been just screwing everyone over. Anyway, that's my show for the Warlocks. And a bit about their history. They used to be badass. They're still kind of badass. They've got the dragons still. They've got the minotaurs still. I think this is just a rough guess, that they do have some of the more powerful flying units in the game. They have at least 3 in their castle. Manticores, Harpies, and Dragons. But, given the circumstances of the game, they're not the most powerful, I can vouch for. That title belongs to one of the other classes. And we'll get to them soon, don't worry. Until then, though, I'm going to sign off here with my giant army. And you can already know what's about to happen. I'm going to go over there and kick their asses, right? So you can check. Yeah, they're totally doomed. Lord Alamar shall rise again. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.